Welcome to the Iron Table, where iron sharpens iron, so should men sharpen men. I am your host, Bryant Godine, and I'm joined by my brothers Keith, Danny, and Steve. We're your waiters, serving you accountability and truth. We now bring you to our program, already in progress.
Welcome to the Iron Table. Iron sharpens iron, so does men sharpen men. According to the intro, we should be Keith, Danny, and Steve, but we do not know where Danny is. We're not going to try to find him. He's a grown man. He can find himself. We are at the end of season 4, so this is kind of a recap and what will happen for what we've gone through this year and what do we look forward to next year. So before we get into that, of course, I got to check in with my brothers, Keith and Steve, and just see how have things been. The last time we talked was before Thanksgiving. So hopefully you're out of your turkey coma, that you made it through the Christmas season, and that you're looking forward to 2025. So just give us a little update before we get into the shenanigans or henanigans, and just go from there.
Everything's been chill, man. Everything's been definitely very good, man. Definitely been blessed. And just kind of learning to slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? When you have access to everything, sometimes you get nothing done, man. So just trying to learn to slow down and stuff, and just take in what you can take in, man. You can't take in everything.
All right.
True, no, man. Just enjoying the holiday. Just enjoying the holiday. Having a moment. to, Like Steve said, slow down.
Cool. Well, a lot has changed since the last time we recorded. When I cut my hair, because my friends did not tell me how stupid I look with a 1970s high top fade.
That was
Um,
that was all 80s, 90s.
yeah, it was bad.
Why you
There
say
was
it's
so many.
stupid?
It was
It
stupid.
wasn't bad. I
I
didn't think it
broke
was bad.
You
I
think
broke 2 pair of headphones. I
if
had
I
to
thought your
swing.
head was stupid, I'll tell you.
No, you wouldn't,
I
because you
would.
didn't.
I would, because
You
I didn't
did.
think it looked stupid. I liked your head, but if I thought your head looked stupid, I'd tell you.
You let me go
You,
out and play basketball
you know he had to.
with a black eraser on top of my head. And I
Listen,
tried. I tried everything. I
I
tried
mean,
to sponge it up.
what I mean, when wish they could grow that. Nah, man, where if it grows and it's clean and it's healthy and it's not and it's neat, man, rock it.
You can wish, but you don't have to do it. And I
I
mean,
didn't
I
cut my
I
hair
had
by
a couple of years
choice.
to have it,
God made that choice for me.
and I
I
couldn't
didn't
wear a
make it
hat.
by my choice.
If I wear a hat, it just
No, it
Nah,
would
I feel you
interfere
on
with
that.
that.
I feel,
But we're
I
I
had
feel
to
you on
get
that.
what is it, earmuffs, and I was like, it's just too much, and no nobody told me, so I don't know if I really have friends or brothers, they just let me be me, and it's like it's time for it to go. And so first thing I did was like just check to make sure my scalp was the same color as my face, because it had been a while since it had seen the sunlight. Then there was that basketball game, where a young man, we out there, Iron Table has its own church league basketball team, and we 0-4, but we are also dads and people who are well within our professions. And this young, I want to say he might have been 19, 20. The game was over. I think we were down by like 10, and he decided that he wanted to dunk on me. He did not accomplish his goal, and the ref had to call the game. All I remember was putting my hands out, but apparently I might have put my hands out with the same force that he had trying to come to the lane, and the game was called. So, young people, you cannot dunk on old people. We grew up with Patrick Ewing, and I mean, where people actually tried to defend a dunk. Now, since we're not jumping, we're just going to push you. We're not advocating violence, but we're just going to push you. But yeah, that's been about it. So cut the hair, And yeah. So yeah, we're at the end. And this has been a great season. Season 4, we've made some strides. We've trying to use technology to drum up interest. Learned of a new program where AI kind of just takes over. You know, we got too many other things to do in our profession. Either we're talking to our friends for hours upon hours and not getting copay. So I will never do what Steve and Keith does because that's not worth money. I see now why y'all don't want to talk much. But no, we got something good going, and I'm hoping that next year we're able to just take another step forward. Um, we've definitely reached over 500 downloads since the inception of the Iron Table, which was this is season 4. So Keith and I started this 4 years ago.
I mean, my mama probably did about 250 of those.
Probably, yeah, because I was asking Lloyd, like, you watching? Oh, I forgot y'all did it. But we've got some faithful people that have subscribed, and we'll give comments. And I think next season we plan on trying to do this thing live, and just roll with where it rolls. And I got my censor button ready, just in case things get a little a little spicy. Start using it.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, I call it my Steve button.
You can call it your Keith button.
You can call your Danny button.
Oh yeah, I think he has definitely said some stuff that everyone has looked at the screens like, world, we about to get canceled, yet we have no sponsors. So nah, but all right. So 2025 is around the corner. We've talked everything from politics to relationship goals to accountability to just leadership. And one of the common things that's been running around, at least with me and talking to various people, is about true leadership. And if that is something gained by status or if that's something within. And, I believe, you can be a leader as soon as you step into a room. Doesn't mean that you own that room. It just means that it's the qualities that are within you. And I believe in the higher power of God, put, us in a leadership role, even though I believe women can also lead. Make sure I say that. Women can definitely lead in areas, but the responsibility of the totality of leadership falls upon men. So if a man feels as though he is not a leader, as to men who are have counseling, therapy, y'all talk to a lot of people. What can a man do in order to reinvigorate the leadership? Like, can a man lose his identity, lose his leadership? And if so, how can he regain it?
That's a really
Because say
good
if I
question.
say I don't feel like I'm a leader.
Well, you may not be. I mean, the reality is, what does that word mean, and what does it mean to actually to do it?
Right.
We speak on it as that's like me saying I'm a fisherman, but I've never fished a day in my life. To say that I'm a leader and I haven't been taught to lead, and I've never led anybody, and I've never been in that position to lead, but then be told you're a leader and you have to know what this role is. I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice because we have a lot of men who have a lot of expectations on their heads or on what they're supposed to be doing. And it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't know how. So it's not even about losing it. Some people have never had it to lose. But now they're in a position where it's required or expected, and they got to figure it out, and they're learning on the fly, and it's not easy. And you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna mess up. So it takes a level of patience to even figure out what that means, which is why we need to focus on providing that counsel to young men who want to be in this role prior to marriage, prior to relationship. Like the dating phase is where you learn to lead as a child, as a kid. Just learning to lead yourself. That's number one. That's learning to lead yourself. Forget everybody else. That's step one. 'Cause- So, oh my gosh, there's so much to this. But yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
My point is, yes, you can lose it, and sometimes you can't lose it because you never had it to lose.
right. I think that it's also you got to look at in what capacity or what is it that you're trying to, how can I say, lead? Not what, but in what is it what's your overall goal when you're talking about leading? Um, because again, in a lot of times in life that we feel, I think a lot of times people feel like, oh, if you're not a leader, you're not important. Or if you're not a leader, it's something wrong with you. You're not in a particular status or whatnot if you're not a leader. And I feel like sometimes you're not a leader all the time in your entire life. You know what I mean?
No,
Now, it depends. If you're a father, you're a husband, yeah, definitely. For a man, it definitely you are leading in those particular examples. But when we're talking about also, in your career, friends, X, Y, and Z, you may not be leading all the time. And a lot of times that when we feel like we need to be leading all the time, we don't accomplish what it is that we really need to accomplish. And we also need to see where are we leading people to? What is it that are we put in a position sometimes in our lives as in a career we're supposed to be leading people to something, but we may not even be passionate about the things that we're supposed to be leading them to. So then how can I be an effective leader if I'm not even passionate or I don't even really care that much to about the subject to lead the people to that particular subject? So it's a lot. It's very dynamic when we're talking about leadership and the thought thereof of I have to be a leader, or do I even feel passionate about what I'm leading people to?
So can you be a leader without the title?
yeah, all
Of
the time.
course, of course,
There's a lot
of
of people who
course.
work for agencies and work for people.
Hmm.
Who, there's people who have the title and make the money, but they
Hmm.
not doing. Steve and I work places like that.
So then why is it important, where man's like, I got to be, I'm the leader of the home. I got to be the leader, and we keep saying it. Is it that we don't believe it that we keep saying it, or is it that we're
Sometimes,
trying?
sometimes you got to feel important when maybe that sometimes you want to. Sometimes some people that are not doing what they supposed to be doing, you want to feel important instead of doing the actual work, if that makes any sense. So sometimes we want to get we want to get in those roles of like I'm important, I'm this, that, and the third, but it's harder to actually do the work of actually leading without it's harder to do that than actually go into other type of just saying I'm a leader or making the appearance I'm a leader, because people can talk all day, can sit up there and we can say somebody's a leader or a CEO, say for instance of a company. You go and do the best presentations, the best the best talks, and give the best appearance of the company. But if your company's not doing well, if your employees don't, I mean, they feel a certain way about you. If they're not motivated or whatnot, what are you really doing? Are you just a mascot at this point? So again, being able to lead sometimes nothing wrong with, I've seen leaders just take a back seat. Sometimes being a leader is you being in the room and you're not the loudest one, or you're listening. Sometimes a leader has to listen, and that's one thing that I picked up on even in several jobs, where we were going through the pandemic, and I was listening to other companies talk about how their CEO was actively talking with their employees, calling their employees, hey, how's everything going with you? I know this pandemic is X, Y, and Z. I just want to check on you. I just want to make sure you're okay. And then other CEOs just not doing anything. But again, think about it. That's what made that difference. And then now me as an employee looking at you as now my leader, right? Because
Hmm.
now I think like, hey, you're invested. You're not just invested in this company, but you're invested in me. So guess what? Now I'm going to do what I need to do in my job to make you look good and make this company look good because now I see that you're invested in me. And that in of itself makes a good leader. The one that can show their people that they're leading that, hey, you are important to me as a leader. I may be up here, but you're still important. And a lot of people just don't get that.
Let me ask you this, because you know, and I like that you said that they invest. But what if, okay, I'm reaching out, I'm listening, I'm doing it, I'm making the cold calls, I'm showing that I'm invested in you, but then I turn around and make a decision that you aren't in agreement with. Does that make me less of a leader, or
No,
does that?
part of the
Okay, so
part.
leadership doesn't always need 100% buy-in.
That's part
Leadership,
of the job. Yeah, that's part of the game. Yeah. No, you make the difficult
You
decisions.
need enough. Like we talked about this before. We joked about it. Like I couldn't have been one of Martin Luther King's leaders for
hold on,
his
let me
Oh
show you.
for
no.
to sit in.
No, no,
I
no,
could
no, no.
not say, okay, we go sit and get bitten by these dogs and sprayed with these hoses. I would have made a terrible leader for that. It wouldn't
Yeah, I
have
told
worked
you you're in the
out.
back with buttons. I can't put you on the front line of nonviolent
Yeah.
protest.
No, there's certain things you gotta know your limits. As a leader, you gotta know your limits, but there's certain things that you will be expected to do as a leader, and that's what makes it hard because I call it part of it what did I call it? It had to do with Moses. But because Moses, when you look back at Moses in the Bible, he was in a tough predicament. He had God who he couldn't tell no, and he also was working with the people. Like I love God and I hate these people. So, but you want me to lead these people. You want me to lead them out of
Hmm.
Egypt through the wilderness, and all they do is complain, cry, and
And
get on my nerves. And so Moses told the people no a lot of times. He even went up, he came down with the first set of tablets. What these people doing?
yep.
Act, acting the daggone fool. The people he leading that he told, wait right here. I'm going up there. Got to talk to God real quick. We got to have a conference meeting, and I'm gonna come back down, and we're gonna keep going, keep this trip going. While he gone, they lost that. They lost their mind.
So
And
did.
his own
So
brother,
did.
his own brother.
They lost their mind. And as a leader, now God didn't approve. Like he lost his temper because of it. He lost his temper. Now we could talk
What do you
about
think
his.
God said to him?
We could talk about if he had the right to do or not the right, but
I bet someone got hit with that tablet
yeah,
first before
That's what I'm trying to like. We know he had temper. We know he had a
angel brought
temper.
down
But
to Brian.
he could have possibly broken it over somebody's head
Yep.
for all we know. But he was mad. But he was still in a position where he still had to be a leader. And I'm sure it did not go the way people liked, but they understood y'all messed up. So, or I'm trying to help us get to where we need to be. So shut up, stop complaining, and come on.
Yeah. So Dan, we're talking about leadership and like the qualities of a leader. And do you necessarily need to one have the title to be a leader, or two, have, I would say, 100% buy-in or approval of those you are leading? We're talking about outside the home, but we're going to have to transition to inside the home to see
Mm-hmm.
what, because there's a lot of brothers out there that may not understand what true leadership is. I was talking to one of my friends, and I told him, I said, I growing up, I did not know what love was. I knew what codependency was. I was definitely taught with that in growing up and seeing that in my home. I didn't understand what love was until I started talking to people outside of my immediate family to really understand like what sacrifice was, what equality or look like, what fairness looked like, and how it's never a level plane. I look at it as like a seesaw. Sometimes I'm up,
Mm-hmm.
she's down. Sometimes she's up, I'm down, and it's just a
Mm-hmm.
constant. It's just constantly fluid. But I didn't get that until I was able to say to myself, Brian, you do not understand how to lead, how to love, how to really understand. And once I did that, then my mind was open to receiving those traits in order to understand, leadership. So that's kind of where I'm trying to go to, taking like what we see on the outside as leadership and how do we transition that into our relationships, into our home, both as fathers, as boyfriends, as husbands, and any other relational leadership that we have. We're trying to close out 2024 on a note of leadership leading us into 2025. So
Yeah, if I can just jump in and say that I think that leadership internally is so much more difficult. And I'll reference somebody that many of us know and grew up with, whose wife told him that you Superman out there, but you Clark Kent in here. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And admittedly, I mean, he tells the story public. It's Myron. So he's in pastoral ministry. He was in pastoral ministry, and now he's just focused on leading men. But it's much more difficult to lead internally because these people see you for who you really are.
Yeah.
How you your flaws, your weaknesses, your mistakes, and you can't hide very well from the people who you live with, who see you, and it caught. Yeah, you just can't. They gonna see you as it is. I think that even still, most of us who didn't grow up seeing the biblical model of house band and father who knew what he was doing in the home, we didn't have that example to be able to teach us, to be able to show us. And because of that, oftentimes we got into our own home, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to lead. Like, who teaches you that? Right. And so you end up in a situation where you're trying to tell somebody what to do, and they're like, what you talking about? And you got division. And like, what do you do with that? You're trying to lead, you're trying to be something that you've never really seen before.
And be honest, most of us wouldn't want to follow that either.
Yeah.
When we've had supervisors come in that know less than us and want to give us directives.
Oh, don't start, Keith. Please don't start. Oh, geez.
No, I meant that. I said that for a reason, because I know.
I got my finger ready for the censor button.
Yeah, you warm up that button. Warm it up, man. But yeah, we've been in positions where, so we've been in those positions. So if I can sympathize and empathize for a lot of families that are struggling with this, I better understand what it's like for someone to say, I'm the leader and you need to follow me. And it's like, okay, well, where are we going? I don't know.
Where do you think we should go?
Yeah. See that, but that in of itself, thinking about what it is to be a leader, that there's a smidget of responsibility when we're talking about I want to be a leader, or you designate yourself as a leader, because we're human, regardless if you're a leader, emperor, president, whatever it means, in whether in your family, whether outside the corporate, whatever it may be, you are human. But if you know that you are in some capacity a leader, whether it be a husband, boyfriend, boss, whatever it may be, right? You do know that, hey, yeah, I can make some mistakes, but there's some mistakes that I should not make as a husband, as a boyfriend, as a father, as a preacher, as a boss. There's certain things that you should not do. And that's where then we toe the line of, hey, am I an effective leader? Because at a certain point in time, I can expect a preacher that's a leader to make a mistake, such as, oh, you know what, maybe some of the funds, I didn't know we didn't pay this, we didn't pay that, but I can expect some mistakes as a human being. But when we're making the mistakes of sleeping with people in our congregation,
that's not a mistake.
No, that's a choice.
Yeah.
You see,
I just slipped and fell.
Yeah. Oh, look at that!
I overspent on the Christmas budget. The person
you're not an effective leader. But as a husband, as a boyfriend, as fathers, hey, oh, you know what? I forgot to pay this bill. We're gonna have to pay a little bit extra for the. Okay, yeah, got it. Oh, hey, babe, come get me from the jail. I was drinking and driving, and I smashed into another car. X, Y. There's certain responsibilities as a leader of things that we should not do. That we know that, hey, you know what? There's people not only looking up to me, but there's people that I have to lead in my family. So there's certain things I cannot do at all
What's,
Do you feel
as
like
this
but,
role.
do you
but
feel
look at
like
the
that
theme that you're
pressure
saying.
is what causes a lot of people to break?
Look at the
Because I know,
theme.
and I say that because I know a lot of people who are the term is PKs or preachers' kids, and some others who've grown up with a lot of that pressure that because I wear this weight upon my back, I have to be flawless, which causes me to drift closer to the flaws. And
But
so
But
see,
you
yeah,
think about it. Most, hold on. If
it's flaws and it's big flaws too, though. Because we
But
all
think about
got
it.
them.
When leaders have any gaffes, their gaffes are usually when it's about self, not about for the collective. Think of every leadership failure.
Mm-hmm.
It has been about that one person either wanting fame, glory, money, or it was something that they just had to have that no one else could have. I mean, we even go biblical. Look, we got David. I mean, he was a leader, but his gaffe was wanting someone else's woman, and the length that he had to go through in order to cover up his tracks. That a truly, and that was one gaffe, and I'm glad that higher power
oh,
looks at us individual and not over the totality. That one thing
Mm-hmm.
didn't say that he was no longer a leader. It was just
okay,
his leadership gaffe there.
that was my question. Because he's a leader, he's not gonna have these temptations.
No,
I
you're
guess
gonna
my
have
point is
temptation.
because he's a leader, I see it being more of these like that's the one that was written about and that we know. If David was
Right.
out there dogging these women, there might be
You're the
there might
others.
be more to his story. And I'll put it this way, and I hate to use this example, but it's the only one that comes to mind. We have the version of MLK that we've been given all these years, and then all of a sudden we learned as we got older that there was another
Uh-huh.
side.
I'm not
He's
letting you
getting
talk
down.
about MLK. I'm not letting
He's
you
getting
talk about
down.
it.
Did that stop him from being a leader?
Sure did
No,
not. But thank you.
because it came out later. But if it came out during that time,
Yeah, if it came out during the time, yeah. But
if it
did that
was
stop
social
him from
media
leading?
during that time, he would not have been the leader.
Well, they would have stopped. They would have stopped him from leading. He could have still. Again, he still did it. We just didn't know what was going on behind closed doors, allegedly.
But the different capacities of what in a man's life that they're leading. Yes, I lead a society, or I lead my people, in this way. I lead my family in another way. So in one way, hey, society could maybe never care less or X, Y, and Z, but with his wife or his children looking at or maybe knowing that, hey, maybe brother's getting down on the side with somebody else. At that point, how did that then affect them? And how they looked at him as not just the leader of this movement, but the leader of, hey, you're my father. Hey, a leader of, you're my husband. So
Mm.
they in themselves may look at that totally different because they are closely affected by his leadership, like that. Not where we're talking about these other things, but they're affected by his leadership just point blank.
Yeah.
So then, is it more important to be a leader at home, or where your influence is 1, 2, depending on how many are in your family or your significant other, or is it like better to be a leader outside where there's more influence and
Mm.
it can go further?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go ahead with at home. I think that has the potential to bleed over into the other areas of life, because like I mentioned a little while ago, like these are people that see you for who you really are,
Mm-hmm.
and you it's hard to hide from the people who see you day in and day out. Your kids will tell you. I used to know as a teacher as well what my students thought of me because they will impersonate you. They will
Oh my
do like
God.
that.
Whew.
You'll get all manner of. You'll learn about yourself. It's like, I say
You will.
that. That's how I do. Oh
Mhm.
wow! You'll learn what they think about you, because like you can't hide it. Like it's there, and I believe personally that any influence you have outside of the house, you could. I would argue that it's the most important piece. There are some businessmen who will say, I'm not doing business with somebody who's not taking care of business at home, who doesn't have their house in order, who doesn't have a relationship with one woman, and who's taking care of his responsibilities as a father. I'm not doing business with them, because if they're not taking care of their business at home, like the word says, like if you're not taking care of your own, you're worse than, depending on what version of the Bible you read, but we're worse than the heathen. You got to take care of home base. Like that's
real
the
tough.
most important thing. Like God wasn't mad at Eli because he was a bad priest. He was mad because he was a bad father.
Yeah.
He wasn't taking care of his responsibilities, where he could have done more. We could have done better.
Yeah.
He ain't say nothing about what he did as a priest. It was like, yo, what you doing with your sons in your house, I can't rock with that. Even though the people still respect you as the priest.
Right.
That's my argument.
Oh, and I was going to be like, what happens if, home says you suck, but outside says you're good? Like, do you just like, man, home just mad because I'm not doing what they want me to do? Outside, that's where I get my fulfillment in my refilling or refill of energy. Like, are we as men, are we losing the focus? Because I hear y'all saying home, home, home. But if home is like I guess,
toxic.
Yeah, I was
Home
gonna
is
say
toxic. Listen, okay, I was waiting to get here. I was waiting to get here.
Come on now, come on.
Yeah, I'm saying if home is toxic,
because
but
listen, everybody who's screaming for leadership, some people don't want to be led. Let's just talk. Some people don't want to be led. Or some people not gonna like how you lead, no matter what you do. And so sometimes, yes, you can consider home, but sometimes you got to, like I tell people, you got to consider the messenger. Because if say you want ice cream and I give you ice cream and you still don't like it, you say you want candy, I give you candy, you still don't like it. I'm doing everything to make you happy and you still don't like it, then I gotta consider the source.
It's too cold. I want some candy. It's too sweet.
Cold. The candy too sweet. So I gotta consider. So now if it's something I'm just not doing, again, pull my coattail. But there are times that there are people being led that really don't want to be led, or they will never be content with the leadership. And it's not just, and if you pay attention to some of these people, you'll notice they're not content with any leadership. They are contentious with anybody who's supposed to be directing them to wherever they have to be. Teachers, supervisors, pastors. Some people are just contentious that way. I hear it. I've heard a lot of young people tell me, I don't like authority. They grow up to be adults who don't like authority. They get into relationships and they don't want you to feel, they don't want to feel like you're telling them what to do. Or how to dress.
I've had conversations. I've told people in my family, and this has started many arguments. And I've told them, I said, you would argue with Jesus, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You would argue with Jesus.
Yeah, and actually, that's what he said when he was talking about. He said John the Baptist, he came fasting, and you said that he had a demon.
Right.
The Son of Man comes to eating and drinking, and you say he the glutton, the friend of tax. It don't matter what you gonna have something to say either way. So I might as well just do what I'm here to do. But I would argue that those people who just don't like authority, vast majority of them, in my experience, had daddy issues.
I just saw F.
No. The vast.
I thought I saw F. I was like,
you ain't on the button. I was about to let it fly, but you're not on the button.
Yeah.
There you go. But no, you were saying vast majority. Okay,
of them have daddy issues. Some of them got mommy issues, but vast majority of them, if you got problems with authority, 9.5 times out of 10, it's because you were not fathered in a way that would have fostered that respect for authority.
Respect. Oh, that's
I agree.
that's a foreign word. It's a foreign word nowadays. Respect.
All right, now,
in the detention facility, we talked about that. A lot of them never had a male figure to say, "Go to bed, turn the lights off," or until they got locked up, and then they have a choice. But they would get so angry with these what they call them, youth workers or correction officers, junior correction officers. They would get so angry with them because they've never had a male, unless it was confrontational, tell them what to do. So now, when you become these adults, yes, it becomes a situation where you still carry that anger, and you don't realize that stern masculine energy is godly. I dare say it's because God says no. God says sit down, hey, go sit down and collect yourself, fast and pray. And it is not always lovey-dovey, and leadership.
God says no, but He still allows us to still do it.
What's that?
And I mean, God says no, but we're still freedom to do it. We just gotta be prepared for the consequences.
And that's where leadership kicks in, and they have a problem with, again, consequences, because
kicking people out of the Garden of Eden. It's just like, I still love you, but you got to go somewhere.
I told someone that God is the only entity that can handle the consequences of us following his decisions. So whatever happens, he is the only one that can handle all consequences if we choose to follow his orders. But I got to ask this question because y'all said people who don't want to be led. What if you are in a relationship with someone who does not want to be led? What do you do? All right, my finger is on this button. Okay, you got two things to say?
Nope.
Let
me do it again. Let me do it again.
You got to say something because people might not be able to see this.
Listen, do it again.
The deuces, bro.
Out.
But it's not easy, but you okay.
But there's a way about it though.
There is.
I'll say y'all telling people just to cut it and just leave.
Well, hold on. We got 3 people who've been divorced talking here. So let's go one by one. Who got first?
Go around the circle.
Who got first? I got next. Who got first? Y'all go ahead.
Like there's a difference. There's a difference between somebody saying, I just flat out, I'm not listening to or listening to anything you say versus I hear what you're saying, but I see this over here too. Let's talk about this. Because a part of a good leader is also being able to listen to those who you're trying to lead. You cannot also think that you are the end all be all of knowledge and what things should be. Being able to effectively listen to the person that you're trying to lead and understand what sometimes their goals are too. It's part of that, and especially in a relationship, it's part of a partnership. And when I say partnership, it's because at sometimes, guess what? I'm going to be leading. Yes, for the most of the time, yes. As a man, that's our head of household. We control a lot when it terms of the control of energy, emotion, all those particular things. We can control that. But also, there's going to be some times where I need you to lead me in ways of, hey, if I'm not on my A game, or there's certain things that I don't know, guess what? I'm going to allow you to lead me because guess what? We are partner in this. And if there's only one person leading this, at the end of the day, when we talk about to death do us part, we go to them pearly gates and we're looking at God and he's looking at, hey, how did you like your marriage? I loved it. She did everything I wanted her to do. She's like, hey, you know what? I didn't get to do this. I didn't get to do that. I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel like this. Is that husband gonna be able to say to God, is God gonna be able to say to that husband, hey, good job. You did what you did what I asked you to do as a husband to a wife.
Steve, I don't know what side of the coin you are on sometimes. Sometimes it's I hear the partnership and the communication, but then there's also I need the dirty, grimy Steve to be like, I'm not getting that.
No, see, look, Now, here's the thing. Y'all mentioned something earlier about not being able to, like, if you're younger and you don't have that male either role model, that male presence to, instill some fear or faith. I mean, fear or respect. Everything happens for a reason, and for certain things that you do not have in your life, God will make for you. There's a
Mhm.
reason why I went to the military, like right after high school instead of right into college, because I didn't have that male role model. If I did not go into the military and learn some discipline and get that fear, get that respect, not just for men, but just out of people in general, my emotionally, I would be out here just acting a fool. So everything happens for a reason, for like put things into perspective. Hey, now I do have not only respect for just other men, but just human beings in general, you know, not just a fear, but it's that respect that you should be give everybody. Because there was a while I was like, man, who was this man yelling at me? Who the F are you? What was you? I never had that. To be honest with you, I never really had that fear of, oh, dad, come on, this, that, and the third. No, I never had that. It's foreign to me. But understanding now, growing up and feeling like, hey, you do fear and respect go hand in hand when it comes
Yeah.
to being able to live with human beings. Because you have to be able to fear that, hey, you know what? This X, Y, there's consequences. So I'm gonna have to respect this person. Just like I want them to fear the consequences and respect me as well if they were to do something to me.
All right. So Steve says we need to communicate. All right. Danny said I got next. So all right.
he said
Well,
he
make
said
sure.
this.
But yeah, because he just said just
Yeah.
leave.
No. I do not believe that first reaction is leave, because behind every frustrated like partner is somebody who's. You usually have two good people who are just on two separate pages,
Yeah.
and the vast majority of our disagreements are misunderstandings.
Yes.
Something that you saying that I just like, I don't see that. I didn't. Why would you think that? And so you end up on these two separate pages. I call it the gap of death, heading in two different directions. But I think the most important thing is the nature of the relationship, because you can be in a relationship with somebody that's a committed relationship like marriage or like a partnership, and somebody may not want to be led but still be committed to staying in the relationship, and that's where it gets a little tricky. It gets a little tricky because, like, how are you going to manage like the areas of life where you need to be on the same page, when somebody's like, yeah, I'm not, you can do that over there, but I'm gonna be over here. I think it does come to
Sounds
a
like a
point.
roommate.
Yeah, and a lot of people are in that situation. Like, don't be fooled by the matching pajama pictures and people posting on social media, because the vast majority of people, they are living in hell.
True.
It's some variation of unhappiness. That's normal. Like, there's some people who just like, screw this, and there's other people who put on the face. The vast majority of people, to some extent, put on the face, smile in church, and praise the Lord, God all the time. God is, and next thing you know, they sleeping in separate bedrooms. And so I'm just here to say that you do have to come to the point where you have boundaries, and I think that there are some deal breakers where it's like, okay, probably the best thing for you to do is to separate yourself from somebody who just doesn't want to work with you, because relationships take two. I'm not saying to just jump and bail ship on the first sign of trouble. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you try to maybe get some help first to understand where the gap in miscommunication exists. And then when you are able to effectively communicate, if somebody isn't interested in being underneath your leadership, which bag you want? To me,
I help you pack it. Bag it.
I, that
Or you can stay. I'll leave. I'll leave.
And I want to be clear that everyone understands they're not saying that you do this one time and then be ready to pack the bag.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
There's a
That's
period of time that you go through. But
if I may.
okay, I'm being
because essentially you're like the head coach, right? And so if nobody gonna listen to the head coach, what's
Why am I on this team? Or why y'all call me here to coach people who don't want to be coached?
There's degrees to this. If you're trying to lead as a man, you're trying to lead your woman, and God sends us red flags from the get go. We just punish ourselves for not looking at those red flags. If you try to lead a woman as a man, and her first response to you is, "Who are you? Who are you?" That's a red
energy.
flag in of itself. And in those instances, you need to run because at this point in time, you're going to spend the next 3 to 4 years of trying to convince this woman to listen to you.
Now,
And
let me ask this. Let me ask this because I do have a question, and it may be to balance the scale a little bit, but or not. But there are some people who got into a relationship and had no clue how to lead. And they did this for 1, 2, 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 years. They finally got some conviction, got some know-how, they got some skill about them. Let's say 7 years in. Now, when you know what you're doing, you go back and say, "Hey, I know what I'm doing now. Let me lead you." You burned this bridge for 7 years. The money's jacked up. The finances are terrible because you didn't know. Now you know something about money. You want to lead. Does she owe you that?
No. I don't think so. That's just me.
Are you humble enough when you go back with this new information to say that I messed up in order to?
I didn't know. Like no. And I'm saying this is real. This is what
I got this.
I got it. I got it now.
You go back in the most humblest tone. I honestly did not know what I now know. So let me lead us to a place.
You shot me in the foot last time. I'll hold the gun.
And I think that's fair.
But the last time was an accident. I did not know how to lead. So now I know how to lead. Let me lead.
How many men are willing to say that?
That's the part.
Not many. Not many.
But if we were,
we want a blank check. That's what we want. I'm gonna just keep it one.
Because I'm the man. Right?
Yeah. We want a blank check because we got the equipment. And it's just like I'm over here trying to lead. I know now I may have sucked as a leader. Now I'm here attempting to do a better job, and I need you to fall in line. Here's where I think we get a lot of things twisted. The concept of submission, which is probably a completely different podcast.
Yeah,
but the idea of submission, I think we've distorted it, especially with our patriarchy. Like I think that it's really twisted. The Bible says that Jesus humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on the cross. He didn't demonstrate weakness. He had power. He was like, when Pilate's like, "Don't you realize I got power?" And he's like, "Whoa, hold on. You don't have any power over me." To the disciples, he said, I can call 12 legions of angels
right now
if I want. And just like Thanos, whooshy finger hold. I mean, he could have just like
and with the middle finger.
That's it. It wasn't a matter of him being weak, but that's the essence of strength. And so when it says that he humbled himself, I think that none of us is too high and mighty to not need a little humble. So the concept of submission is so distorted. We think that it's a sign of weakness. We perceive that it's I'm stronger than you, so so that you're gonna do what I say. When in actuality, submission is a willful choice of someone to submit, to come underneath the covering of somebody else's decision. It's a conscious decision. It is not like you're weaker than I am, and so I'm gonna let you lead. That is real strength to me. And whenever you're factoring in what it looks like to submit to leadership, like it's hard, it's difficult, because when the head coach calls full court press and you're like, but they got Allen Iverson, He gonna cross us. He gonna like.
He gonna cross us
All
out.
right, coach, call a full court press. Let's go. We're submitting to the leadership that we have because it's necessary for us to function as a cohesive team. This is the order. This is the head coach. Go ahead.
But I'm glad you said that because I think it is asinine for men to really think that just walking in saying, because I have male genitalia and I'm the lead, when if it's amongst us, I can only be a leader if I have shown you over a period of time that I have those qualities. If I do not show you over a period of time, I might be right, but you're not going to really hear me because you're like, well, the last 6 times we listened to him, he wasn't right.
Yes.
So, we'll take it into advisement, but we're going to try something a little different. Why do we think that if it doesn't work amongst our peers, amongst our other brethren, that just showing up and saying, I'm a man, God gave me this right, that you are supposed to follow me, will work in our home?
I think it's a distorted view of patriarchy, of the Bible, to me. I do believe that we are called to lead. That's God's design. But even look at how Jesus led. Like, he led like a shepherd. He wasn't like this macho, like, do what I say or you're gonna die and I'm gonna shoot laser beams out of my eyes. That's not how he led. Like, he, even in his leadership style, he was empowering them. He's like, yo, I give you power. You go out there. Jesus didn't baptize. They baptized. They had power to do what he wanted them to do. Go ye therefore, teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father. So that was their job. That was their calling. That was their gift to the world, and the part that helped them to grow as believers. But I don't know. I think that it's easy to get sucked into some of the ideals because of one extreme being feminism, radical feminism. I think that it's easy for us to get sucked into toxic masculinity, where it's just like, obey me or else. You're not my husband. Like, I don't have to obey you. That's
at all. At all.
Now, Jones,
And that
hold on, we gotta get Jones because I had you, Steve, Danny, y'all both gave. But
come on, Jones.
All right, Elder.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sure have. You gave us a question. You didn't tell us what you would do.
You got that
No, you
teasing
gave
with some great
you gave us a
wisdom.
question. Yeah, you gave us a question. You didn't tell us.
You ain't getting out of this one.
We won't tell her, Keith. We won't. We'll edit this part out. We won't tell her.
No, I'm about to say that ain't already known. Because that's free. Django free. Listen. The question was, what do you do when you run into somebody who doesn't want to submit? Correct?
Yeah. Doesn't want to be led.
That's the word. Yeah, thank you. Doesn't want to be led. It's multifaceted. Because sometimes I threw that question out there because sometimes there are experiences that have wounded a relationship where, again, you might be able to go to somebody and say, okay, I'll trust you as the captain of this team, but we need to go talk to the coach. So if you say you know what you're doing, let's huddle up with the coach. Let's set up a game plan. And now then I'll trust you to execute. And once you've executed, then that'll rework that trust. And what I mean by that, finances. If I know I struggle with, since that's the one I use, if I know I struggle with finances, we can go sit down with a financial advisor to verify that what I put together actually works.
Yeah, that's good.
So now that we're sitting down talking to this person, see, I put this together and I put this together, and they can critique my play. You can critique my play, but at the end of the day, what you put together or what I put together works. So as I continue to reconfigure and reprogram what I've done over the years, it basically is rebuilding trust. It's possible. It can happen. It doesn't always have to end, but are we willing to do it? Because sometimes so much damage is done and it's so bad. And then sometimes it's not that bad. It's the pride and the ego that we just talked about that both sides will not let go. Nope, you're terrible with money, and that's the end of the story. When, yes, I used to be, or you're bad at this or you're bad at that. Yeah, once upon a time you may be, if the person could have been, but if once upon a time they were alcoholic, they stopped drinking. Now they have to prove that now that they're sober, they can still produce.
But
So
you gotta
that
humble but you gotta humble that's the problem is
there
that
is
we're
a
not
level of
humbling
humility.
ourselves.
There's a level of humility.
You have to
So,
humble
so do you
yourself.
have to do
And
you have to leave? No, but don't expect the person just to see just because you say you can pull a rabbit out your head. Don't expect no.
and
Every time you say that, you don't pull nothing out their head.
part of being humble is sometimes you may have to involve them in that process. And it may be as
You
simple as,
should.
hey, can
Yeah.
you help me?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
need your help helping me
Mm.
help us. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Sometimes just having those conversations, just say, yeah, I know I messed up, but I've got it together now. I want to involve you in this process so that way I can prove to you, my spouse, that I am now in a position to lead us. And I want you to be a part of seeing that transition. So
Yeah.
just have a conversation like that. Nothing's
Yeah.
wrong with that. You know, this is your spouse. This is the person you are supposed to share your hopes, dreams, desires, fears, all anxieties, all those things with this person. And if you can't do that, you got to reevaluate what you're doing with this particular person. Are you just in that to lead this person? Or are you in this to experience this thing we call life with this person?
Yeah, I got a question now for us. I don't know how much time we got, but maybe this might be for the next one. But the backdrop for this question is like as a leader, I went to school, I got my master's degree in educational administration. One of the things that they teach us in this leadership program is this concept called shared vision.
Oh,
Um, Most times, the old guard they would come in, and whoever the person who has the crown on, they tell everybody what to do. The newer, less bureaucratic method of what's called transformational leadership is coming and facilitating a discussion with those who they are leading in order to have this thing called shared vision, without which usually you have that division because you're not going to have everybody who's going to be on the same page. If one person's coming and say, you do this, you do that, you do that. So my question is, when it comes to leadership, how, and everything that we've talked about, how much, how collaborative should the experience of leadership be in your eyes?
I'll go first. I believe that everybody actually is different. Honestly, I do. I believe that some people want to. I've met people who say they don't want to do. I don't want to know the finances. That's his
Yeah.
job. I don't want. I want him to. When he leaves out, I want him to lead out so much. I don't do nothing. He take over. He said good because when I step in the kitchen, I don't want to touch not a dish, not a pot, not a pan. That's your domain. They're a traditional couple, and so they they doing what they do. But when they view leadership, they look at it that way. Whatever you're responsible for, I don't touch. Whereas you got other homes that are like, nah, we commingle this thing. So you cooking, I'm cooking, like we working this together, and that's how we lead out. Like we plan together, we plan the menu, we plan how we gonna cook it, whose day it is to cook, or make sure we eat. So I think a lot of couples have to actually sit down and talk about that. And that comes even before coupling up. That comes in the process of building. What are you looking for? What do you see leadership as? I'm learning that even now, asking for specific questions. What do you see leadership as?
Yeah.
I think I'm leading, and you like, nah. So, so again, you got to be in a position as a man to hear some feedback about yourself and your leadership, and not just at home, but I mean because we already get feedback at work. But if you're in leadership at work, which I've been at, I've been told I'm too nice of a supervisor sometimes, and sometimes I'm not.
oh,
Yeah, I know, right. I don't. So
okay.
my leadership style ain't to punch people in the face for coming in
At
5 minutes. We're gonna talk about it, but that's another story. But my point is, I learned from those situations and relationships that my leadership style doesn't work for everybody. Um, Now I have to learn and adapt for for my wife now, because again, how she may respond or how she may understand leadership may not be what I'm used to doing. Um, and so we have to talk and get on the same page, because when I and how my kids know me, when I lead my children or have led my children, I don't say a lot. And people notice that I give eye contact, I make certain facial expressions, and they know exactly what I mean because I've led them for so long. I don't have to say much. When it's time to go, they know the look.
The 70s, 80s parenting.
So, but you know, my wife is different. I might have to come and say, I may have to lead her differently until we get on the same page. Because again, when I could give her that same look and she's like, why your face like that? You all right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's a matter of talking enough where we know what is expected and how I lead. I don't yell. In fact, the quieter I get, that's actually my kids know. If I'm yelling, I'm actually not that mad.
That part. Ooh,
When I get
that part.
quiet,
Mhm.
when I get quiet,
Mhm. That's the kids in the juvenile detention center knew when I was
they
mad.
knew
They
that
just
they knew that too. The kids in the juvie system knew that
yes,
too. If I'm
walk
talking to you,
in.
we good. Even if I'm yelling at you. But
He
my
ain't say
style of
nothing.
leadership, if I get quiet, that means give me a minute.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
But I,
we
I
have to
gotta
discuss,
ask this.
That's
we have to discuss those things.
But I have to ask this question.
What you
What
got?
if in a relationship, because you mentioned the earlier couple where the husband takes care of the finances and the wife is like, I trust that you will take care of us. Just like he says, I trust that you will not prepare a meal that will hurt us. What if in that transformational leadership, what if the husband says, so you don't trust me to take care of this? Is that toxic masculinity? Is that it, like,
No, she may
that's
not.
that.
the absence of
It may
Yeah.
not.
trust?
It
And
may not
he,
be
he
anything
can
he did. It may be her last relationship, but she may not.
ask that question in a different way because that's going to
Okay,
start it
so
again.
now how do you
And
ask that question? There you go,
That's
Steve.
the
Come on.
question.
Reformulate my words. How do you
so
ask it?
your question to her was, so what? You don't trust me,
Yes,
right?
that was a statement. Or no, that was a question. Yeah.
That's a question.
Again, being able to state first and foremost
All right, everybody
your
listen.
your thoughts. Hey, in the past, I did do X, Y, and Z. I own this, and I understand how you could feel a certain way about this. Do you feel like at this point you can't trust me? And follow that up. Is there any point at all in the future that you
That
feel
part.
like you can trust me with this? And what is it that you would need from me
Mm,
That is the third one.
to be
mm.
able for you to be
He
able
just
to
dropped
trust
a
me?
love jam.
That part.
He just
Don't
needed a
expect me to
baby
say
to go on mute.
Say that again for the
Say
people in
that
the back.
again. Give us the three things again.
you
No,
gotta
it is. Those two questions are
admit your
the pivotal
thoughts.
questions.
Admit your thoughts. Ask that question in a different. Hey, do you feel like you cannot trust me because of X, Y, and Z? Is there anything that I can do to gain your trust
Mm,
for in the future? You see what I'm saying? Because here's the thing too. With this whole, and I challenge men and women in any relationship. Ask your spouse, your significant other, this question. Just ask him, who do you think leads this relationship?
Mm,
And there is a right answer to this. And
mm.
mm.
this is just my thoughts. I think the right answer to this is somebody saying, I believe we lead this relationship. I believe we lead this marriage. Because it should not always be just one person leading the entire marriage, leading the entire relationship. We are a partnership, and there's different facets that we all lend a hand in making this thing work. So if one person says, I think you do everything. I think you Oh, I do everything. I do. So that's going to cause some problems. If one person thinks that they are doing everything, or if one person thinks that you do everything, you got to look at that and say, hey, you know what? I want this to definitely be a partnership. We are a team. I want us to lead this.
Well, that brings you back to my question because I hear what you're saying, but I also know what I see, and I see people. I see people who haven't had that conversation. So hypothetically, I'll
Who
use
shows you how? Like that's
it, and that's the other thing. Who shows you how? But I know couples. For instance, when he experienced death, he was not himself. He was
Hmm.
grieving.
Hmm.
She didn't recognize. I, I need you to. She didn't recognize that he was looking for her to step up and co-lead. and nor did he communicate it. So it became an area of contention in the house where I need you to step up and do these things as the leader in our house. And it boiled over and turned to this horrible argument. But it was basically him not knowing how to say, I can't leave right now because I'm broken. I can't do what you're asking me to do right now because my mind is not even clear right now. So you're asking for a level of spirituality, of physical closeness, of emotional closeness that I don't have because I'm grieving. And once he finally got there in their section, then yes, things started to improve because he could then put names to what he needed her to do to help him lead with the kids, with the bills, because he was a hot mess. So a lot of times as men, we need to be able to say, I'm not myself.
That part right there, Keith. That part. What?
Or I don't know what to do. I never did
That's
this.
the humbling part. That's the
There's
humbling.
nothing wrong. Listen, there's nothing wrong for some of the men who do it. When you give them, if you give your wife the check because she know what to do with that money,
come on. And sometimes that's leadership.
That is leadership. Here,
what?
Double it, woman.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Oh man, right there. Just being able to say, I don't know, or I need help. I just need you. What is the point of being in a relationship if you feel like you can do it all yourself? You need to be in a relationship then. What's the point?
Yeah, I'm a little Johnny that, but another podcast.
Yeah. Well, fellas, I don't want to keep y'all. We've already passed that minute mark, and this is the last episode for the year. We got 2025. We got some place to go. I'm glad that y'all have been rocking with me for these past couple of years. I look forward to 2025. Before we go, we just passed the holiday season. I gotta ask this question: if you can remember the favorite gift that you got and why. This is from day one to now.
Already know.
You can remember. Okay, all right. Let's just go through. Those who know it, start chiming in. What you got, when you got it, and why.
Let's check about this year or just through our life.
Through our life. Yeah, you gotta go back. Yeah, look to the left, look to the right. I don't know which way. You'll find an answer by the time we get to you.
I don't know what year it was, but it was the year that I guess you can look it up. The year that Nintendo Entertainment System came out, and I remember that my mother got. I can clearly see it.
Like
us being in my grandmother's place, looking at the gift. I can still smell the doggone thing. I can smell. I can smell that the electronic rubber. I can smell all of it. I don't know what it was, but it's something about that. It was magical. It was magical. It was something that I didn't think was be obtained, but there it was. And I think that it put you back in a time where you didn't have access to everything. But that one particular thing, you felt as a kid really happy with certain things too. You know what I mean? You didn't have a care in the world. So it's a lot of memories just even with just that. Just seeing Nintendo's entertainment system will bring me back immediately to that. That's my love for video games is now. But it was something about being able to have something that I did not think that I could have. And sometimes life is really weird and God gives you blessings. And sometimes blessings are a curse if you don't really reel it in. Because sometimes being able to have a good career, have good money, you have access to everything. Sometimes you don't look forward to everything too. But when you do not have certain things and then you get it, it does something to you. So I remember that. I actually don't remember any other gift that I've ever gotten for Christmas as a kid. I remember that.
All right, now you need to watch 8-Bit Christmas before the year ends out. That was a good
seriously?
movie. Yeah, it talks about kind of the same thing, a kid in a Nintendo around Christmas time. So
Got the one that had the zapper to it. Had the zapper.
Yeah. Well, I think they all came out with that.
You're right.
Oh no, there was one that came. There was that, and then that was the base, and then the one that came with the robot. That was the ultimate. I still have the power pad, and it still works.
Did you ever have the glove?
Nah, we never had the glove. Oh, you had the
Look
glove?
at you, boy. Oh boy, he was really
special. They must have really liked you.
No, I had to look hard for that. What did I ever do with that thing? I don't even know.
Probably didn't play with the well because it just seemed weird. Like, what are you gonna
It
do
was.
with the glove? Man? All right, Danny, Keith. I'll go. I'll just say this.
Okay.
It was 1984. I want to say it might have been 6. I got a Transformer. It wasn't Optimus Prime. It was I think his name was Jetfire. It was white and red, and it was the one that all the originally he was friends with Starscream. They were backstory. They were scientists. That was before Starscream went bad, and he got lost in some ice and was finally unfrozen, and he wound up joining the forces with the Autobots. But the reason why I remember it is because my grandfather got it for me, and I'd opened all gifts, and it was like my parents like, "This is the last one from your grandfather," and it was big, and I was like, "Oh, big means good." When I opened it, I was like, "Oh!" Had on my jeans and my small shirt, and was holding up Polaroid, and I remember that one. That was that took me back.
Yeah. I'll say I got to pick 2, so I'm gonna make them quick. The first one was when my mom bought me a saxophone, alto saxophone. It was it might as well cost $10,000 because we ain't had money. I wanted one, and she found a way to get it, and I found it before Christmas, and she was mad that I found it because I tried to make it so when you find something, you try to leave it exactly the way you found it. Yeah. The other one was my grandmother took me to get a suit. Like this, like prior to going up to Pine Forge, like she got me 2 suits so that I could look good and so that I could be the well polished young man that many know. I didn't really have suits. I may have had a couple ties, but she got me some suits, and I wore them suits for the next 20 years, bro. Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't tell me nothing.
Literally, all the buttons probably were gone,
where all of
falling off.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care. Put grandma's suit on.
That's it.
Well,
God
all right,
rest her
then.
soul.
All right. I can't remember. You said the first gift?
I'm saying the most memorable gift, so not the first one.
I got so many, but I'm gonna go with the first one. I don't know if it's Christmas or birthday, but it's also 80s. First, it's probably one of the things I remember was the big wheel.
Which ones you have? The Knight Rider one?
Dukes of Hazzard. Don't judge me over here. Don't judge me.
We
I had
all
a
like
big
the
old
general
Confederate
theme.
flag, and I didn't even care. But the reason I remember that one is because you could not tell me that when I was on that thing. It's probably like Steven his Mustang right there. When he in that car, like when he doing 120,000 miles per hour, he moving. And when I would take a curve, there was some dogs. I'm talking too much now, but there was these big white German shepherds on one side of the street. At the Wright's house. And whenever you went down that street, them dogs would go crazy. They would go ham. But one day on that big wheel, I knew
Oh my God, Keith.
Had the handbrake, right?
Oh my God, Keith.
Right, had the handbrake. So I came down that corner. I came down that hill because it was a hill. And then at the bottom of the hill, I pulled that handbrake and I slid. Dude, when I slid, I was drifting.
Original drift.
The original drift. So that was part of one of my most memorable gifts. What's that?
I just looked this thing up, Keith. It didn't just have one Confederate flag. It was all over the doggone thing. I have never seen this before in my life.
I had a Knight Rider one, so
listen, I didn't know, but you can't tell me when that thing was like you couldn't tell me I couldn't do any of that. I knew on that big wheel I could jump over anything. If those dogs had got out, I promise you, I would have outran both of them. They would kill me. But that's the most memorable gift.
Wow.
One of the most memorable gifts.
Wow.
if we had a picture, we would have posted.
Yeah.
Everybody looked up. Big wheel.
This is wild. This is wild. It didn't just have one
of me on this big wheel, and I love that thing because again, it's one of the first times I actually felt just empowered. Like, I had to sit down and think about it. What did I felt when I got on that? Like again, it wasn't nothing I could jump. I could jump just like I could jump just like the car over a ravine from Boss
Bird.
Hog. Whoever. Roscoe
Cool,
P.
cool.
Coltrane. They couldn't catch me on that thing.
That's awesome. All right.
Oh
Well,
man.
it's the end. We gotta have a closing word, closing thought. I'm gonna let y'all in this. Just thank people for rocking with us for 2024. So, all right, y'all said some things. If you can wrap it up, wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go with the general. This iron table. Like, get you some men that can help you level up. And we all need some area of sharpening. So that's what the iron table is all about, making sure you have people who can speak into your life and lives that you can speak into.
All right.
That's real talk. Um, I want to challenge people that's listening to this. Let 2025 be a year about um being serious about God again. You know what I mean? I think too many people are joking about God and about spirituality and whatnot in the same light. We can't say that God is good all the time and going and using His name in vain too in the same sentence.
True.
Be serious about God. And cut out the foolishness for those who are not being serious about God. And let God's name actually mean something. You know what I mean? Let it
All
mean
right.
something.
Oh my goodness. Before you look to lead others,
Mm.
learn how to lead yourself. You with God's help. Under God's leadership. Learn from the master how to lead. Um, it's easier. It's not. I don't want to say it's easy. It's not a cakewalk, especially if so kids in the mix. I don't care what the leadership style look like. Those are some of the people I met that don't want it. I don't care how you give me what I want or don't give me what I want. I got an issue. So learning how to lead and how to even deal with that uh, is key. So before you really get serious about leading somebody else, get with God and learn how to let Him lead you so you can do that. They
All
follow
right.
me, I follow. That's it.
All right, fellas. Well, thanks again for rocking with me this year. It's been one of the best years, and all those listening, look forward to bringing you some entertainment and some truth and some realism in 2025. So just stay safe, stay resilient. We out.